So we know that Star Wars Hunters is meant to be launching in 2023, but we're obviously already in the second half of September, meaning there's pretty much only 3 months left for this game to actually come out until it's going to be at the point where they've obviously delayed it again if it isn't launching in 2023. And so a lot of us are obviously confused as to what is going on with this game, but I've actually sort of figured something out that may potentially be the reason for the initial delays. And although the delays are obviously very annoying, this could actually turn out to be a very good thing. If you guys are interested in Star Wars Hunters content, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. There is going to be plenty more on the way, but with that being said, let's get stuck right into it. Now, we all know that the game is launching on mobile. It's kind of been primarily marketed as a mobile game, although it has also seen some marketing on the Switch, because like I said, it is going to be launching on the Nintendo Switch as well. And from what I can tell, that seems like it is kind of the main reason this game isn't already out. The game seems like it is pretty much ready for launch when it comes to mobile. We've obviously had these soft launch that started late 2021, so that is nearly 2 years ago now, and hell, it felt pretty decent even when it launched in terms of the soft launch. It definitely had a fair bit of work to go, but probably around a year after that is when it actually felt like it was genuinely ready for launch. At that point, I didn't feel like there was that much more they could have done to make it, an objectively better game for launch. There's a lot of stuff that still needs to be improved, but that is the case with pretty much every single game ever. You can't just continue to make your game perfect and then launch it, because at the end of the day, you just never launch the game. So there has to come a point where there's kind of that perfect balance of a game being ready enough to launch with still enough stuff to be able to fix after launch that it's not going to cause any issues. The reason that I think the Switch has kind of caused that issue is because, like I said, it feels ready to play on mobile. It's been in that sort of really good launch state for probably around a year now. It was around the time of it actually dropping on iOS when that was added to the soft launch that I remember thinking this actually feels as though it could launch tomorrow and would be in a genuinely good spot. Because of that, it is now on Android and iOS in select regions, but the reason that I'm kind of curious about the Switch is because it isn't obviously available on the Switch, and that makes me feel as though the Switch is kind of the thing that has been holding it back. That is obviously just my own speculation, so there's no real truth to that, but it just feels that way considering you'd think they would also be trying to soft launch it on the Switch to get as much data as they possibly can. Now, something interesting about the Switch is that apparently this year at Gamescom, which was actually only just a few months ago, in fact it was last month, apparently the Switch 2 was actually unveiled and playtested behind closed doors. So this is obviously not something that was done to the public. It's something that was just shown to, I guess, developers and maybe certain people within the media, and it must have been behind an NDA because obviously we would have heard a lot of stuff about this, and really there hasn't been actually all that much. It's only just been sort of leak type stuff. Nothing official has actually come out, but it's been talked about by a lot of people, and usually where there's smoke there is fire. The amount of people I've seen talking about this makes me think it is pretty much confirmed that the Switch 2 was sort of unveiled and playtested at Gamescom this year. Now that kind of makes me think if the team at Boss Alien were, obviously still working on the Switch version of Star Wars Hunters, and then bang, what do you know, there's a new Switch that's on the way, depending on how long that is, I'm not too sure. They may have actually gone internally, okay, we need to delay this because if the Switch 2 or whatever it's going to end up being called is launching in, say, a year from now, maybe 2 years even, they may want to actually take the time to get the game ready for that as well. Not necessarily meaning they'll launch it when that is out, but they may want to do a bit of groundwork to kind of get the game ready, knowing that there is a new version of the Switch that's going to be out, trying to sort of better optimize the game for that. And this is something that actually happens quite a bit within the gaming industry. A lot of games that are currently in development, when they do hear that there's a new generation, a new PlayStation, new Xbox on the way, if they haven't announced a date yet, they will often actually internally delay the game. Not necessarily because it's like desperate for a delay, but they kind of think, okay, well, there's a new generation of consoles coming out. Why don't we just actually try and get ahead on that and put in another 6 to 12 months of work so that we're now working on the next generation versions of the game as well. So this is something that is pretty regular, and it would not surprise me if that is the same sort of thing that has happened with Star Wars Hunters. It would also make sense with how long the delay has actually been now. It was pretty much meant to launch in 2021. That is when the soft launch started. It was then delayed until 2022, and then it has now been delayed till 2023, at which point, like I said, we are almost finished with at this point. So that is a very, very long delay for a game that was already in soft launch in 2021. Clearly the game was in a decent enough state to soft launch by then. So a 2-year delay for a game that is, at that point, it's like 90% finished. That is a very, very long time, and that would kind of make sense if it is because of the Switch 2, because they probably would have found out about about that a long time ago. The thing with dev companies, and when it comes to, Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo, they would be hearing about next generation consoles a very long time before we do. If we get the announcement for, say, the PlayStation 6 in 2025, I can guarantee that the developers for pretty much all the big studios out there are probably hearing about that right now, because that would mean that they can actually get the time to get their games ready for that platform. Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, these companies want all the dev teams to actually have the time to work on the next generation of consoles, because obviously if you launch the PlayStation 6 and there are no games that are ready to launch on it, that is not going to do well for Sony. So dev companies probably hear this news a very, very long time before we do. They may not hear all the, intricate details and stuff like that, but they would be told, look, here's the next generation of consoles. This is pretty much the, benchmarks that we're aiming for. Start trying to develop your games for that type of console. And they would be working with them pretty closely all the way through that. Whereas us as the fans, we just kind of hear a big announcement, hey, there's a new PlayStation on the way. And then, a year or so after that, they actually launch them. So because of how long the delay has been, it would actually make sense if that is the case. Let's just say the Switch 2, or whatever it's going to be called, is launching next year. Well, Zynga would have probably heard about that a year or two ago, which, like I said, kind of lines up with the delays that we've had. So there is every chance they heard that, a year or so ago, and internally they thought, all right, let's just take an extra year to get the game ready, since there is going to be a new Switch on the way. Again, that is all just speculation. There is no confirmation of that, and there's not even confirmation right now of the actual Switch 2 itself. Although, like I said, it is all but confirmed. It's been talked about so much by so many people that I would be absolutely shocked if this is somehow fake. So just take all of this with a grain of salt, but that is definitely something that I think is a very real possibility. Either way, I think it would make a lot of sense if this is actually the reason for the delay. And if it is, I actually am kind of happy about that, because there are no other reasons to me that make sense. Delaying the game for this long and still leaving us in the dark, it doesn't really make sense. But if it is actually because of something like a new version of the Switch coming out, that actually makes a lot of sense, and it only means the game is going to be better. So I kind of do hope that this is actually true, even though, like I said, there's not even really rumors of this. It is really just me taking a bunch of rumors that are all but confirmed and then trying to piece them all together. So like I said, take it all with a grain of salt, but I personally do think this could potentially be a part of what this delay has been caused by. Either way, I'm keen to hear your thoughts though, so be sure to leave them down in the comment section. Like I said, if you are interested in Star Wars Hunters content, be sure to subscribe with those notifications on. On top of that, if you guys are interested in general gaming, I do have a brand new channel called Sammy Boy Gaming, covering pretty much all of the big AAA games that come out. Currently, we are covering Starfield over there. So if that interests you guys, be sure to check that out down in the description. I'm actually going to be doing a setup tour once we hit 1K subscribers as well. So be sure to check out the new channel. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and may the force be with you always.